Hello everyone, this is a call, and so this is my second video on centering sexual energy. This one's a slightly different approach because we're going to look a little bit at the necessity for centering before sex, um, or yeah, I mean, I don't really see what's necessary about centering before masturbation, but you could probably do that too. So the the first thing let me get into is please push the subscribe button down below if you are not already subscribed, and also share this video if you find it helpful. If you found it helpful, in all likelihood, other men might find it helpful, or women. So, with that said, let me go ahead and get into it. So, the first thing is we want to talk about is kind of there's a number of things that are really important to understand, like when you're going into a sexual engagement. So as you move into having sex, if you're going in a scattered kind of way or an overheated kind of way, ultimately that's going to carry over into the practice itself. And I use the term practice, and I'll get to that in a moment. So, uh, one of the ways you can kind of reflect on this, and this is again from my own personal experience, that when, let's say, every morning I meditate. I do yoga, I do meditation, I do some breath work, and I will tell you, um, on the rare occasion where I have not done that in the morning, it really hasn't happened much in the last 20 years, but or let's say the occasion where I make a mistake and answer text messages or emails before my practice, where my head's not present. It's not present in the practice itself. Then ultimately, what ends up happening is that my practice itself sucks, and the essentially that energy, that sucky energy, ends up carrying out through the rest of my day. How you start your day is basically how the day will go in a lot of ways. So another way to kind of like look at this weird glare going on here, um, another way to kind of like perceive that is now applying it to sex. So if you go into again a sexual interaction in an overly heated way, and again I know it's very it's always really tempting to just follow that heat, that really intense passion, and I'm not suggesting you don't. What I'm suggesting is at some point, if you know you're going to have sex, let's say an hour, 2 hours in advance of the actual experience, that you do some breathing. You do a little yoga, you do some Tai Chi, whatever it is that floats your boat in terms of spiritual, energetic practices. Meditate a bit. If you go into the engagement in a cooler way, you're going to last longer. And I will tell you the benefits of lasting longer, um, deepening the intimacy, deepening the connection, because sex isn't just about your orgasm, right? Sex is not about the ejaculation. I mean, that's part of part of it. Obviously, procreation is a big deal. However, uh, I would say in terms of extracting the benefit from a sexual experience, it lies in the connection and the intimacy. If you're a man, I'm telling you this. Your ejaculation is easy, generally speaking. It's easy. Other words, don't focus on it. It's not important. Really, I mean that. I am diminishing your ejaculation. It's not important. You know what's important is that you're connected to your partner when you're having sex. What's important is that you're engaged with your partner. You're making eye contact. Now, why? Well, one, obviously, you're engaging in probably one of the most intimate acts that's available to the human experience, which is intercourse. The other thing is that, again, the what you want here is you want that sexual energy to be building, right? It's a foundational energy, is a base energy that underlines all the other aspects of your being. And it is your intellect, it is your creativity, it is your immunity, it is your ability to shine in life. If you can get that sexual energy moving and centered, it will conduct off of you and out of you, through your aura, through your field, out of your hands if you do healing work. It is potent energy. So it is incredibly important to harness. And I'm telling you this from personal experience. So I'll give you a quick personal story. So, over the last year or so, I've made a commitment with my partner that when we have sex, we're going to do it a lot. We're going to, throughout the weekdays, we're working and we're busy. So it's not usually always a good time to have sex like on during the weekdays. I mean, she gets home like at 8 o'clock at night. I'm tired, and frankly, I'm like an old man. I go to bed at like 10, so I'm not really in the mood, frankly. Uh, as the evening energies generally cool me down, I'm just not interested in sex. That's just the truth of it. So when the weekends roll around, we have some daytime. Uh, I decided that I need my sexual experiences on the weekend to be deeply, deeply satisfying. Because if they're deeply satisfying on the weekend, I essentially will not crave sex for the duration of the week, which is true, under a couple conditions. But so I've made this commitment to having long sexual experiences on the weekends, and I will tell you, it works. It's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly effective. And my clients, whether they are realizing it or not, are having much more powerful experiences when I'm doing body work on them. They're having greater emotional releases. The sense of the loop when I connect to a client, there's a loop that's formed where the energy moves between us. That is much more clear, much more apparent. And the other thing is that, and I can't overstate this, particularly if you're having sex for a long period of time and you do not ejaculate, you become, and this is like, there was a Seinfeld episode about this where about men becoming master of their domain. If you can look it up, Seinfeld, master of domain, you'll get the episode. Anyway, the idea is that when you are master of your own domain, it builds your confidence. In the greater your confidence, once again, it increases the sort of spiritual pressure of the energy moving through you. Greater confidence, you are less likely to try to control situations, control the sexual experience, control yourself, control life. You're in a better mood. And everyone knows when you're in a better mood, you're more creative, etc. So being able to have sex, that's not interesting. Being able to master sex, that is. And again, I've talked to so many men over the years about this, where a lot of guys are like, I have sex all the time, but it's not really satisfying. It's not great. It's not deep. It's superficial, and they don't know what to do to get around it. Well, and I always tell them, well, you need to connect. And again, it's about the connection, about the intimacy. Get out of your head. So let me give you a few reasons why a lot of men have a difficult time carrying out, or I guess carrying out the sexual experience for a longer time. Usually, there's a number of factors here. Men like to use their body. We play sports, we do physical things, we lift stuff, whatever. So we're very comfortable using our body, but we're not comfortable being in our body. There's no one to blame here, right? So I could blame society and our conditioning and this and that and everything else. No, there's no victimhood here. It's your own responsibility. So centering practices before sex, as well as after sex, but before sex, particularly is what I'm talking about here. Before sex, if you center, then what ends up happening is that you are more integrated with your body. If you're more integrated with your body, once again, you're going to feel a greater level of coolness, of comfort, and your ability to connect and be intimate with your partner will be magnified. So also during sex, something else that might kind of short circuit the sexual experience would be, let's say you're in your head. You're thinking about something kinky, you're in a fantasy place. If you're in a fantasy, if you're thinking, you're not connecting. So what do? You kiss the person. You make eye contact. If you have difficulty making eye contact, you look at the space between the eyebrows. There's a lot of different strategies here. But what it'll do is it'll pull the energy out of your head. It'll pull the energy up from the genitalia, because that's one of the issues. Like, for instance, men who prematurely ejaculate, oftentimes there's too much heat. There's too much pressure, sexual energy around the genitals. And again, The old story is true. Anywhere you place your awareness is where the energy is going to flow. So if you're interested in creating that circuit, that very powerful pressurizing circuit, that which is the heart and soul of a sexual practice as it relates to Tantra, you have to connect. If you cannot connect, you don't get it. You're not going to get it. Tantra is not for you. All right. If you have issues with connection, I suggest working on those issues, and this is one of the ways to do it. And it's very simple. All right. So let's say again, let me give you another scenario. You're in sex, you're feeling all heated, you're about to come. So the couple physical cues you want to look at first is relax your pubis. Right. So right at the base of the penis, the pubis, try relaxing it. That's one thing that can reduce the pressure. The other thing is thrusting with your glutes. Shift your focus to move pressure with your glutes. So thrusting with your glutes. That means your butt. Uh, Something else you could do, once again, is focus on her or him. Focus intensely on her or him. Look at their shoulder blades. The shoulder, the neck, the base of the neck, the chest. Again, the eyes. Really, really, really indulge the person you're with. This will cool that energy. It'll allow you to last longer sexually if you do this. So, and again, this is my own personal experience, but also over the years consulting men. This is it is really powerful. And again, because the idea here is to, over time, is to build that spiritual pressure. And again, if you're not interested in spiritual practices, if you're not interested in Tantra, if you're not interested in those things, well, I don't know why you'd watch this video anyway. But if you're not interested in those things, then go ahead, ejaculate, do your normal. But I will tell you, if you indulge, if you have a desire for greater consciousness, if you have a desire for greater potency, greater vitality, then, make the sex last much, 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 much longer. And again, I'm not talking about a particular time frame here. But I will tell you that one thing I've learned is that I personally get greater pleasure out of pleasuring my partner than I do out of my own pleasure, if that makes any sense. So let me go ahead and see if there's anything else on my list here I want to talk about before I tell you the technique. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the other thing is to kind of keep in mind is talking about emotional needs. Men don't like talking about their emotional needs, but I will tell you that men have an emotional need for sex, and we have an emotional need for deeper sex. And when I mentioned earlier in this video that I'm satisfied throughout the duration of the week after I have a very sexual weekend. The reason is because my deeper sort of emotional needs, my heart, right? My ability to connect through my heart, if I do not indulge that, if I remain in my head or in my sex, then what ends up happening is I disregard the heart. And there will always be a desire for sex that's aching and annoying. And again, I'm speaking for myself. It's aching and annoying. And it took me a long time to figure this out. But when I finally connect in a deep, intimate way, and I really engage it, then what ends up happening is that emotional need essentially is satisfied. Other words, if you can picture a man as a stick figure, and this is a Taoism. This is something from Taoism, and it's a truth. And I think I've mentioned it before in other videos. But if you can picture a stick figure man, so stick figure man with a plus sign down by the genitals and a minus sign by the heart. The minus sign is the area where men tend to be deficient, meaning our emotional needs. We're not really taught to be emotional. We're not taught to have emotional needs, and we certainly aren't taught to understand and believe that emotions are somehow tied to sex. We condition ourselves through pornography, through fantasy, through kink, through masturbation, through frivolity, through the constant pursuit of pleasures. So I think that's all. I don't want to belabor that. But anyway, the last thing I want to kind of mention is the technique itself. So what I'm going to teach you real quickly is alternate. This is actually a continuation of the video before, which was spinal breathing. So now we're going to do it alternate nostril. You can do this, let's say you're in a very heated state, then you can predominantly breathe through your left nostril. And let's say you are in a state where you need a little more energy, you're feeling dull, then you can predominantly breathe through your right nostril. I'm going to teach alternate nostril, which is meant to balance. And you can do this before sex, and I'd certainly suggest you do it after sex, or after masturbation, or after that sexual energy is stirred up. So as the energy is stirred up, you want to center that energy. Again, a continuation from the prior video. You want to center that energy, and the spine is a great way to do that. And the other aspect of pulling your awareness towards your spine is it illuminates your shadow. It illuminates that which is hidden from you. It's a kind of a pathway into the subconscious, so to speak. So for those of you who are interested in meditation and emotional release and things like that, this is one of those really important things. The other thing is that you're going to notice over time more internal light through this particular process. And I won't get into exactly why that is, but the point is that we're going to center along the spine. And like I said, you can do it before sex, do it after sex, whenever. So the technique is, first off, we're going to do a little bit of breath of fire, so breath saturation. And I taught this in the previous video as well. Again, 2 fingers below the navel. When I pull in, air goes out. When I relax, air comes in. So it's all right. So I'm trying to position myself here. All right, so the breath of fire is done kind of rapidly. You can also do bellows breath, which is just rapid diaphragmatic breathing without the navel point. You can look it up, B-E-L-L-O-W-S, bellows breath. So, but I'm going to teach you the breath of fire. So it's first off, let's go ahead and pull up nice and tall. We're going to do this for 45 seconds, more or less. And then after that, we'll go into alternate nostril breathing. So pull up nice and tall, inhale a deep breath. Exhale. Inhale half breath. And go ahead and begin. Breath of fire. Make sure your spine's up nice and tall. Press your perineum down. Chin slightly tucked. Just about 5 more seconds. Inhale a deep breath. Exhale completely. I use my right hand for alternate nostril breathing, bringing the left hand into Gyan Mudra. That's index finger and thumb touching. Alternate nostril breathing, I always use my pinky and thumb. You can use whatever you want. And I usually place my index finger and my middle finger at the brow point. It's hard to do with glasses on. But so first off, I begin by blocking off the right nostril, inhaling through the left, drawing the awareness up the left nostril, into the sinus, to the back of the head, down the spine as you're inhaling, all the way down to the tailbone. And once you've inhaled completely, what you may want to do is you may want to lift up your perineum a little bit, so contract a little bit along your pelvic floor, contract the base of the spine right around the tailbone. And then when you're ready to exhale, block off that left nostril, open up the right, blow it up and out the right. Following with your awareness, your sense of feeling, up the spine,
up into the sinuses and out that right nostril. Then it's inhale right nostril, all the way down to the spine, base of the spine. Once again, try to contract something around the base of the spine, right at the tailbone area, or lift the perineum gently. Hold the breath for maybe about 4 to 5 seconds. Block off that right nostril. Exhale up and out the left. Let's do one more breath. Inhale left, up into the sinus, back of the head, down the spine, all the way down to the tailbone. Once the breath is full, contract a little bit along your pelvic floor, lifting the perineum. Contract around the tailbone gently, tuning into the base of the spine. And then when you're ready to exhale, unblock the right nostril and exhale up and out the right. All right, so we just did a couple breaths there. Inhale, exhale, and go ahead and relax. So we did a couple breaths there. Usually also the last thing I usually do is I finish up with a Mahabandha or the Great Lock, and I'll post this below this video as well. I did an entire video that described this in a little more detail, but the Great Lock, again, is a combination of multiple locks. You have root lock, diaphragm lock, neck lock, which is simply tucking the chin down and slightly back. Tongue goes to the roof of the mouth, rolling the eyes up towards the center of the head. And that's the Great Lock. So let's go ahead and we'll bring our hands into a seal. So we're going to neutralize the polarities here. Inhale, deep breath. And we're going to start by pulling root lock. So pulling in the belt line, inward, so the belt line right below the navel there, inward and slightly upward towards the spine. Exhaling the air gently and gradually, contracting from the tip of the penis to the base, lifting the testicles, contracting the perineum and the anus, wrapping all the way around towards the base of the spine, towards the tailbone. So you're wrapping from the navel to the tailbone by doing these little contractions. Once all the air is out, you want to lift up from the belt line. Continue to lift up the abdominals, hollowing out the core of the belly. Chin tucked, tongue goes to the roof of the mouth. Roll the eyes up to the point at the center of the brain. Hold that for a moment. When you're ready to inhale, relax all the contractions. Inhale, exhale, and relax your hands. So it's up to you how many times you do the Great Lock, but what did we just do there? So we did breath of fire, 45 seconds. We did alternate nostril breathing. We only did a couple breaths, but you can continue that for, I suggest 3 minutes up to 11 minutes. Your call, how much time you want to put aside, but I tell you 3 minutes is a good amount of time to start with. Then we did the Great Lock, Mahabandha. I suggest 1 to 3 times with that. And let's see, one of the things you may perceive, and this is something you want to kind of, when you're holding all that air out for Mahabandha, the Great Lock there, when you've got that root lock pulled, you're pulled up under the ribs, your chin slightly tucked, tongue at the roof of the mouth, and you're rolling your eyes up towards the center part of the head, what you want to mentally do is to, the perineum, again, just to be more clear where the perineum is, you have the genitals and you have the anus. It's the space in between. It's the taint, the geech, the chode. There's a bunch of names for that area. But anyway, right, the perineum, you want to see, it's already lifted at that point. You want to see if you feel a connection between there
in that spot at the center part of your head. And I assure you, if you get real good at doing this, you're going to notice a lot of internal light will start to happen inside your head. And this is desirable. A lot of internal light will start to happen. And this internal light really helps illuminate life in general. It's because the human consciousness is that we shine from the inside out. We are internally bioluminescent. So we shine from the inside out. We're a bit like lightning bugs, except our blinking, of the lightning bug is actually from the inside going outward. So anyway, with all that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you much.